Uh, Everything's good.
Okay, great. Are you planning to further your studies as well, or?
Yes, I am.
Mhm.
I'm
So,
also thinking about Singapore Management University.
cool. Okay, great. So you're doing your Philippine high school diploma next year?
Mm,
Okay.
yes.
I actually have a video to show, but maybe what I do is I try playing it. You let me know whether it's playing it smoothly, okay?
Okay.
Just oh yeah, I forgot to on the audio. Hold on, try again.
SMU is Singapore's only university campus in the heart of the CBD and Civic Precinct.
Located in the city centre, we are connected by 4 MRT stations and bus routes to every part of the island.
One of the most exciting places in SMU is right here at Campus Green.
How is that? Is it smooth?
Yes, it is smooth. It is
Okay.
working properly.
Okay, great. In that case, good. I will be able to play this video later. Thank you so much for your help. Okay, let's wait for webinar to start.
Hi guys. Hope you've all had a good evening so far, and welcome to another day of our 2022 college fair. Tonight we have another amazing university joining us, but first things first, we would like to thank our sponsors: the Princeton Review Philippines, OG Student Services, LIMS Review Center, Study International Philippines, AIM Review Philippines, ICLA at Yamanashi Gakuin University, and last but not least, Syracuse University. Now, I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, representing Singapore Management University. They will be here for us for an hour to present about academics, student life, and more in their university. After the presentation, they can also answer any questions you might have for them. To our attendees, if you have any questions at any point during the talk, please feel free to send them through the Q&A feature. I will also link an interest form in chat if you want your contact details to be forwarded to Singapore Management University. Just scroll down to the appropriate day and you should see their name and link to the form. To our speaker, at the end of your information session, please feel free to scroll through the questions in the Q&A and answer those you wish to. Without further ado, here is Jeffrey Ang.
Hi, thanks so much for the great introduction. Hi, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm from the Singapore Management University. I'm from the Office of Admissions and Financial Assistance. So tonight, I will be sharing with you about the university and how SMU is one of the top public universities in Singapore. And hopefully that will make you very keen to consider our university as one of your university choices when you graduate next year. All right, before I start off, because I know that with COVID and some of you probably have not traveled to Singapore before, I'll play a very short video which is made by our students to give you a very quick glimpse of what the SMU campus is like, all right?
SMU is Singapore's only university campus in the heart of the CBD and Civic Precinct.
Located in the city centre, we are connected by 4 MRT stations and bus routes to every part of the island.
One of the most exciting places in SMU is right here at Campus Green, a natural focal point and central gathering space for us students, faculty, and the public. Many students' activities and events are hosted here, like Patrons Day, SMU Art Festival, even public events like the Singapore Night Festival. Some of our favorites are the outdoor movie screenings and the concerts.
There are many amazing chill-out spots on campus, like this alfresco deck right above the library, which overlooks the Fort Canning Green. It is also a great place for gathering with friends. In between classes, I like to hang around the library to do my readings, and I like it because there's a lot of natural light. And when I need a break, I'll look out the windows to enjoy the beautiful view.
When I need to distress or take a break from schoolwork, I usually hit the gym. It has 3 levels of facilities, including a dance studio at the basement. Did I mention that we have a rooftop pool in SMU as well? Or if you're feeling more adventurous, we have an 11-meter high rock wall in the sports hall.
Food-wise, SMU offers a wide selection of tasty options across different cuisines.
Grab an acai bowl, some pasta. There's something for every taste bud here.
But personally, I think the best thing is that I can get bubble tea easily in SMU.
Over here at SMU Connection is where we live, work, and play. There's a game room in this net zero energy building where we can chill out. In addition to active learning classrooms, we have this co-working space, which is a hotspot for aspiring entrepreneurs to come together and brainstorm new ideas.
Speaking of coming together, the SMU Concourse is an underground pathway that links most of the buildings in our city campus.
One of the unique things about SMU is our interactive pedagogy. Only SMU conducts all our classes in a seminar format. This creates a supportive environment for interactive and stimulating discussions, and also fosters close relationships between faculty and students.
If you're interested in hostel life, you can apply to be a resident at Princeton Street Residences, which is just a 10-minute walk away from campus. A home away from home, Princeton Street Residences, also known fondly as PSR, is a communal living concept that encourages co-living, learning, and working among students. Facilities here include a hub, a multi-game court, and a rooftop terrace for our gatherings.
At SMU, every day brings with it a new experience. My journey at SMU has been challenging yet fulfilling thus far. SMU has given me the chance to lead projects that I'm passionate about and to work with individuals who constantly motivate me. With SMU's new programs and facilities, I look forward to the upcoming opportunities and to create more memories here.
Be part of our vibrant community, and I hope to see you in our city campus soon.
All right, I hope that makes you kind of excited to find out more about SMU. So just give me a minute. I'll be sharing my slides in a while. Okay. All right, SMU, Singapore Management University, we are the only public university in Singapore that has the campus right in the Singapore city. Now, you may be wondering, I mean, Singapore, after all, is such a small country, but I must say that it is also nonetheless, the location is really very important by the sheer fact because our population density is very, very high. And for the fact that SMU being right in the city, it means that no matter which part of Singapore that you stay in, all right, or whether it's the western side, the eastern side, or even the north, traveling to SMU is super, super convenient. I myself, I'm staying in the north part of Singapore, and for me to even travel down to my office to SMU takes me less than about 30 minutes or so, right? And we are the only universities that has a lot of train stations that's connected right at our doorstep. Okay, we are the only universities that has this. So you can be assured, traveling is super, super convenient. And also we are surrounded by museum, theaters, gallery, lots of vibrant city life that you can look forward to, not to mention a lot of good food as well. Okay, and I think the other part about us that we are very strategically located is that we are right beside the central business district. So this gives us an advantage because very often we invite the industry partners like the CEOs and so on to come down to SMU to meet with our students and to interact with them. And very often the CEOs will come to SMU to organize things like employment fairs or even to give talks to our students. So inviting them down is always never a problem for us. Now, a very quick, just give me a moment. Let me just shift this toolbar that's blocking my slides. All right, I hope everyone can see the slides. So just to give you a very quick glimpse of the freshman profile that we take into SMU every year, we have 2,000 over students from all over the world, including Singapore, coming from 200 over high schools, all right, joining us. And in SMU, the biggest school that we have is, of course, the School of Business, what we call the Lee Kong Chian School of Business. because they are the one that offers the most number of majors, which is what we also known as the specializations in the degree itself. And of course, our students come from all walks of life. They could be debaters from their own schools, musicians, artists, performers, sportsmen, etc. Now, you may be wondering, well, 2,300 sounds a little bit low, right? But I can assure you that, of course, in SMU, the student population is not just 2,000 over. We have close to about 10,000 over students in SMU, because we also have students who are doing exchange in SMU. All right, and of course, we also have students who are doing the postgraduate studies as well. Okay, so a lot of students from all the diverse backgrounds you can meet and make friends with. All right, now today's talk, I want you to not only to bring you about knowledge about SMU, but also to set you thinking what you really want out of tertiary education in future. Now, after all, going into a university means you'll be investing 3 to 4 years of your life, right, into a tertiary education. And on top of that, you'll be spending a bit of money, right, invested into tuition fees to study for the degree. So it's very, very important that you choose the universities that it prepares you for what we call the unpredictable world outside. Now, COVID itself has proven how unprepared we are, and everything is so unpredictable, right? Even right now, where COVID is starting to get a little bit more endemic for most of us, we do face a lot of other world challenges, such as, we have the war that's going on, or the political turmoils. We also have things like environmental issues, sustainability issues, and not forgetting, we still are facing some kind of another potential virus breakout here and there. So the world is really getting very, very unpredictable. So is your degree going to prepare you for that? That's one question that I really want after the end of today to bring back and ask yourself. And we must admit that now the world is getting smaller and flatter. We are no longer divided just surely by distance, but in fact we are all being brought up together, much closer together, in fact, if you call it. For example, COVID itself has led to the emergence of a lot of technologies, such as, for example, Zoom itself. I mean, 2-3 years ago, if you ask me, I usually travel directly to the schools to meet students. But now we bridge this distance by having Zoom, right? Zoom actually is because of COVID, and it actually allows us to even meet each other face-to-face without the need to travel physically to the venue. And we must also take note that, life and of course jobs is no longer divided into strictly the degree that you studied for. I mean, again, if you compare before and after COVID, right? Now we talk about, for example, deliveries, right? During COVID, we can't go out and so on. And suddenly you see a surge of people providing delivery services. And it also leads to businesses to rethink about their business strategies. For example, does physical stores now is more critical or more important, or whether an online store is actually much better for a business long-term profits? And so a lot of things that's really happening. And because of this, in the recent World Economic Forum, they actually comes out with 10 different skill sets that graduates should have, in order to survive in this highly unpredictable world. For example, students really need to know how to solve complex problems. They should have things like critical thinking. They must be creative to come up with solutions. And more importantly, they must be resilient, and they must be, adaptable to technology changes, the use of technology, and so on. And in SMU, we are very, very mindful of this. In fact, I would say that we are a very, very practical university to prepare students to meet the unpredictable world outside. And in fact, when we map out, the things that we offer in SMU, we are super, super glad that we are preparing our students really on the right track, okay, for this unpredictable world. We have things like guaranteed second major, small class sizes, real-world learning, technology and society, and so forth, which I will be sharing today in my presentation. So what makes SMU different? In fact, we are one of the pioneer university in Singapore that comes up with things like a very flexible and interdisciplinary core curriculum, which I will be sharing in a while. We have things like small class sizes, super exciting, guaranteed global exposure, guaranteed second major, internships opportunities, and of course, importantly, to prepare you for your career. And of course, in terms of community, the networking between students and professors are super warm and supportive. So without further ado, let me quickly touch on it. Now, first of all, the first important part is we are the first university to offer a guaranteed second major in SMU. So what is this major? Now, majors are actually what we call something like specialization that's offered by the respective degrees. So in SMU, we are currently offering 11 types of degree choices. You can look forward to joining either the Bachelor of Accountancy, the Bachelor of Business Management. We have the law program, social sciences, politics, law, and economics, and of course, the Bachelor of Science, Economics, and the science degrees like Information Systems, Smart City Management, Computer Science, Computing and Law, and Software and Engineering. Now, Software Engineering is a very new degree that we launched this year. Right. In fact, it's like a kind of a work-study degree, which allows students to study in SMU at the same time while being attached to another company. All right. And of course, all our degrees are meritorious. Now, in SMU, we have the flexibility to decide for yourself what kind of education outcome you want out of SMU in your SMU journey. A lot of students may choose to do a single degree with one major, or you can choose to do a single degree with two majors. I'll be touching on that very soon. Or you have the flexibility to do even a double degree, so ending with two majors, or even a double degree program with three majors. Now, three majors is a little bit on the extreme side, but we do have students doing that. And it's super 100% flexibility, and you can choose across any degree combination you see over here. So for instance, you can do a single degree, for example, the Bachelor of Business Management with another major. Or you can do a double degree. For example, I can do a Bachelor of Science Economics with a Bachelor of Business Management. So when you do a double degree, what happens is at the end of the 3 or 4 years in SMU, you'll graduate with 2 degree scrolls, right? If you are doing only a single degree, at the end of your journey, you'll be graduating with 1 degree scroll. So what are majors? Okay, so majors are, again, like I mentioned earlier, they are like specializations under each different degree. Let's take a look at the School of Business, because the School of Business is the biggest school in SMU, and they offer the most number of majors to our students. So you can look forward to majors such as marketing, human resources, sustainability, digital business, finance, entrepreneurship, and so on, right? And of course, you have majors that's offered by other programs, such as psychology, which is offered by the School of Social Sciences. If you love mathematics, you can look forward to majors like economics that's offered by the School of Economics, and so on. Now, as a student, when you're doing a degree, your first major will automatically come from the degree that you're doing. So for example, if you are a business student, you will choose from the business majors. For example, I can choose to major in marketing, or I can choose to do quantitative finance or organizational behavior and so forth. All right. Similarly, if I am a student from the School of Computing and Information Systems, for example, I'll be doing the Bachelor of Information Systems. All right, I can do a major in finance technology, digitalization, cloud solutions, and so on. Now, here comes the most exciting part. You are guaranteed a second major, which means this second major can come from any programs. So for example, if you are doing, you are a business student doing a major in marketing, I can also do a second major in psychology, which is offered by the School of Social Sciences. Now, you may be wondering one question: why should I do more than one major? Why? Now, second majors have proven that it increases not only your knowledge, it also gives you an edge over other graduates from other universities, especially when it comes to employment, for example. Now, again, back to the same example, as a marketing business student, having a marketing background is insufficient. But if I have a background in psychology, for example, psychology allows me to understand human behavior and human thoughts. And this allows me to do deeper insights or deeper research, as well as to do things like consumer behavior research and so forth. So it gives me actually an edge, all right, over another university graduate who has just a simple generic business degree, or maybe a business degree just in marketing, right? it gives me an advantage. Or I can also do marketing with perhaps, for example, data science and analytics that's offered by the School of Economics. And again, this gives me an advantage because nowadays we talk about data analytics. So having the knowledge on data science analytics allows me to, again, do deeper research and to analyze data, which allows me to come up with better marketing strategies, right? So this second major, in fact, is very, very, very powerful. And again, once again, I want to emphasize it's guaranteed for all students, and you have the flexibility to choose any of these majors from any schools. Okay. So these are some of the very exciting new interdisciplinary majors that SMU has actually incorporated in our curriculum. You can look forward to things like digital business, and we have also have exciting things like health economics and management. So health economics, basically you get to know a little bit more about the medical sector, the health sector. So for example, for those of you who are perhaps not looking forward to become a doctor, but you are really interested to find out things like how does health affect in the sector? How does, for example, the demand and supply of doctors, nurses affect the healthcare industry, right? All this will be covered under the health economics and management. So in SMU, basically you can look forward to a very flexible curriculum that gives you the breadth or the depth, right? And not to worry, assuming if you decide to do a single degree with one major, but you may be thinking like, instead of having two majors, can I just take one or two modules, perhaps from another major? Yes, you are able to do that. Okay, so for example, if you are a major student, again, I love to use like the same example as a marketing student. Perhaps you may have some reservations doing a second major because of time or whatever reasons, but you are interested to do maybe one or two modules, perhaps, or from the psychology major. You are able to do that as well. Okay, so you can really chart and decide for yourself, what majors or what electives is really suit towards your career goals and so forth. And in SM, you can chart your studies to complete within 3 to 4 years. Although, if you ask me, most of the students typically complete their program between 3.5 years to 4 years. I will share with you the reason why later on. Okay, it's one of the unique perks about SMU. That's why it has this thing about 3.5, the additional 6 months over there. And of course, our students plan their own timetable. So our students typically can plan to have a 3-day, 4-day, or you can spread out everything to a 5-day study week. Most of students actually plan to have a 3 or 4-day kind of study week, so that they keep 1 day for their CCAs or for their projects or for other activities. Next, I'm going to touch on this very exciting thing called the Interdisciplinary Curriculum, which you already heard about the majors. So again, we are also the first university in Singapore to pioneer an interdisciplinary curriculum. So what is this curriculum about? Now, it basically, this is what we call the core curriculum. Regardless what degree you are doing, whether you are a law student, a social science student, we believe that all our students should have a common kind of curriculum that will also prepare you for the unpredictable world outside. For example, if you are a business student, you are still expected to have some basic accounting skills. You should know some basic economic skills, the basic things like the demand and supply and so on. And of course, we will also equip you with things like giving you more insights to things like artificial intelligence, about digital media and so on. All right, so this is what we call the core curriculum, and you have, again, the flexibility to choose and pick what modules you want to take under this core curriculum, right? And also, we also have things like foreign languages. So if you're looking to equip yourself to learn a foreign language, you're welcome to also study that in SMU as well. Okay. And of course, we have this exciting thing called the SMUX project. Now, I myself, same as you, we have done a lot of school projects, right, when we are studying. But we also question ourselves many times, sometimes like, what is the purpose of doing projects? Are we doing projects just for the sake of getting marks and pass, regardless whether it's feasible or not feasible, right? But in SMU, projects are quite different. It takes on a very different direction. So we have this thing called the experiential project called the SMUX. Basically, we partner with industry professionals to come to SMU with projects so that our students get to work on real life or real world issues. And of course, they will be closely monitored and supervised by the industry partners, as well as the professors in SMU. And to date, our SMU projects have even reached out not only in Singapore, but has already extended even to overseas, to countries like involving from Thailand, China, US, and so forth, right? So it's really, very exciting. And this again emphasizes why SMU is really practical, because we want to make sure that whatever that you're also learning in class are applicable to what is happening outside. We do not want our students to be just book smart, know all theories, but when you graduate, you get a shock of your life of what is the thing that's happening outside and the challenges. Okay. So next, we're going to talk about this great thing called the interactive pedagogy. I know that you'll be seeing like a lot of firsts, but we are indeed the first public university in Singapore to use this thing called the interactive pedagogy. So what is this thing about? Now, in SMU, we believe that learning should not be boring. We want our students' voices to be heard, right? It's really important. So what happens is in SMU, basically all our classes are conducted via a seminar style, and it's in very small class sizes, which comprises of not more than 40 over students to one professor and one teaching assistant. So in the class, this is what you see is a typical seminar class. It's going to be very interactive. You are expected to prepare your lessons a little bit before attending classes, so that when you go in, besides just learning itself, it is a chance for you to ask questions. The professors will ask questions, and you get a chance also to ask and interact with your peers. So this is very, very important, because studies have shown that interactive learning is a more powerful tool for us really to learn things. Okay, and it's very a more effective form of learning too, compared to other universities. To be very honest, most of the other universities, when they started off in Singapore, they follow very much like the British kind of system, the UK. So most of their classes are conducted via lecture system. So what happens is you sit in the lecture theater with 300 or 400 students, you will never get a chance to voice out your opinion. You'll just be copying down your notes. Most of the time, it's going to be a one-way learning, because you'll be just hearing what the professors has to share with you, and you take down notes. And to be honest, that is really very boring, because one of the time, even if you skip lectures or you fall asleep during your lectures, nobody cares, right? But in SMU, it's really different. We want to make sure that all seminars that you attend classes are meaningful. And this also has an impact, because this fosters really a very warm and supportive environment. Every students know each other. And more importantly, the professors know every single of our students. You'll be very surprised, especially when you join SMU the first time, especially when attending the class for the very first time, you are expected to prepare a name pen. All right, so you have to write your name on it, and you have to display your name right in front of you. In every seminar class, the table is designed in such a way that there is a very small slit. If you can see from the photograph, it's not so apparent here, but if you look in this picture on your left-hand side, you will be able to see, there is this very, very small slit. This small slit, in fact, is for students to insert your name pen, so that, in SMU, you're not a nameless entity. Everyone knows each other, and the professors know every single student. And this is really very important, because in terms of networking, and it creates really a very strong, powerful, supportive environment for everyone. And of course, in SMU, you can be assured that you are taught by world-class educators. All our lessons are conducted by professors. We do not use teaching assistants for classes. Now, there are teaching assistants in the classes, but this teaching assistant basically is just to help the professors, or to take down notes like how much you contribute in class, or what do you say in class, and so forth, right? So they are more like an assistant to the professors, and we don't use them to teach. In some other universities, very often they make use of teaching assistant to conduct classes in lieu of professors. The reason basically is because they have so many tutorials, right, and so many lectures. It's impossible for every professors to go to every class. So they use teaching assistants, and teaching assistants usually are the postgraduate students. Okay? But in SMU, we don't. So you can be assured that you will receive full-fledged professors teaching you in SMU. And of course, here comes the exciting part about global exposure. In SMU, everyone will get a chance to travel overseas, because we want our students not only to be book smart, street smart, we also want them to experience cultures and to develop the empathy for society and so on. So students, in fact, in order to graduate from SMU, you are expected to complete at least one global exposure program. This program can come in many forms, one of which, and of course, one of the most popular one would be the exchange program. Okay, but besides exchange program, our students also go on to do things like study missions, they do summer programs, they do community service in overseas, internships overseas, and of course, I mentioned about the SMUX projects earlier. It's also conducted overseas, and we have this thing called the Global Innovation Immersion program that helps to support students who would like to do their own startup program, startup business in future. Okay. So most of the students, what happened is most popular form of global exposure would be the exchange program. And our students have traveled all around the world, right? So they have done exchanges with university in Europe, in US, and of course, even in Asia, such as in Korea, in Japan, China, and so forth. Okay, so you really get to choose which exchange, and basically exchange is guaranteed. Students just need to apply for the exchange, like indicating what are the university that they like to do an exchange with, and most of the time you'll definitely land with one of your choices. And remember, I mentioned about completing your program in 3 to 4 years in SMU, but most students will take at least 3.5 years to complete. And here's the reason why. Now, when you do an exchange, you'll be doing one semester in the partner university. And one semester typically lasts you for about 4 to 6 months. All right, so even if you complete your curriculum requirements in SMU, or if you do an exchange program, you would likely stay in the partner university for another 6 months. Hence, that leads to about 3.5 years. Okay, yeah. So of course, if you choose not to do for exchange, there are also other global exposure opportunities, like I mentioned, this one about the Global Innovation program. So basically, this is a 3-month internship at an overseas startup business, right? And we do have partnership with a lot of startup business around the world, from San Francisco, New York City, Bangkok, Jakarta, and so on. Okay, and right now we have already partnered with more than 100 companies to date. And the best part is, if you apply and you are successful in this Global Innovation Immersion program, your expenses are being paid for. All right, we'll pay for all your expenses, and in fact, it's a super strong program, because you also meet the industry partners, the titans, and you'll be mentored by them. Okay. And of course, if you choose, perhaps 3 months is too long for me, or even 6-month exchange program is too long for me, what are the choices? So we have like study missions. Most of the time it's about 2 weeks. Study missions most of the time are organized by your school. So they organize study missions to visit different countries, different companies overseas, right? So these are some of the photographs that our students have shared. Like, for example, they went on a study mission in Germany in 2015, Israel, and so forth. Okay. And of course, we have things like community service. And our community service in SMU is important. While most of the students can complete their community service in Singapore, a large number of our students also do community service overseas. So community service are basically the students actually team up amongst themselves. They form a group and they go on to do community service projects overseas. All right, and to date, our students have already served more than 3.5 million hours, and still continuing. Now, we do have students currently right now on overseas community service projects as well. Okay, so again, these are some photographs that they have shared with us. They have gone on to even places like the Philippines for the Project Reef Alert and so on. And for some of you who may be wondering whether traveling has resumed, answer is yes. We have resumed our exchange programs, and we have resumed our study missions, our community service, and even internships. Okay. Now, very quickly to touch on this, I will not touch, I will just touch very quickly. So basically, if you're worried about things like ranking, SMU itself, we are also ranked by a lot of systems around the world, and of course, including the QS World Universities ranking. But of course, do take note, because SMU, we are not a comprehensive university, which means that typically you don't find us being ranked together with other universities in Singapore, like the NUS, the National University of Singapore, or the Nanyang Technological University. The reason being because these two are considered like a comprehensive university by the sheer fact because they offer engineering programs, they offer medicine, all right? But public university like SMU and some other university in Singapore, like the SUTD, Singapore University of Technology and Design, we are considered like the specialist universities, okay? Which a lot of people don't know. So you can check out all this ranking as well, okay? And now I want to talk about our graduates. So we produce the top graduates in Singapore, right? Regardless whether you're an international student or you're from Singapore. So basically, the moment you step into SMU, we start on the very first day, day one, to prepare you for your career already, right? So in SMU, you can look forward to things like having a dedicated career coach, whereby every student from day one are being assigned a career coach each. And you will be meeting your career coach very, very often, because he or she will be helping you and giving you advice for things like job search, internships, application for jobs, attending job interview, and so on. And in SMU, very often, we have very often industry talks and networking sessions by the fact that we are located right in the city, in the center of Singapore, next to the Central Business District. And of course, we offer our students, every one of them, the opportunity to do an internship, whether it be in Singapore or overseas. And the other part is the very exciting program, what we call the Finishing Touch program. Now, the Finishing Touch program is actually workshops, okay, career-related workshops that run throughout your 3 to 4 years in SMU that prepare you for your graduation. Right? So what are some of these workshops? For example, for the first year, you get to do a little bit more self-discovery, like, for example, doing personalities tests, such as the Myers-Briggs, just to find out a little bit more about your personality, your character, or what kind of career is perhaps more suited towards your personality and interests and so forth. And that is really your first step to self-discovery. And perhaps that will also set you to think for yourself what kind of majors that you like to do to help you build up your portfolio and to prepare you for your career. Now, from your second year onwards, it goes a little bit more in depth into things like how to search for jobs, how do you start to hone your interview skills, how do you do personal branding, which is very important. And that's when we also start to prepare you for networking with industry partners and so on. And from year 3 onwards, it goes even more deeper to things like preparing you, giving you advanced interviewing skills. How do you dress up for interview, for example? How do you put on a case, or how do you negotiate for your starting salary and so on? And so those are all the preparatory workshops that we have for our students. So it's very exciting because in fact, when you attend these workshops, you also get to dress up like an executive, regardless whether you're a lady or a gentleman. You get to wear things like a coat, long sleeve working wear, and so on. Okay, and all these workshops are conducted by professionals as well. Now, if you recall, I also mentioned that all our students have the opportunity to do internship either in Singapore or overseas. In fact, every single student must complete at least one internship in order to graduate. You can do it in Singapore, or you can do it overseas. It's entirely up to you, all right? But you have to do at least one that is about 10 weeks. In fact, internships is very popular with SMU students. Most of the students on average do about 2 to 3 internships. We do have some extreme or some very serious students who manage to complete 6 internships even. All right, but on average, 2 to 3 internships will be sufficient. And as international students, I strongly encourage you to explore doing at least 2 internships in Singapore, because this actually relates to the tuition fees, which I will touch on it a little bit later. But because we are a public university in Singapore, all international students applying to SMU can take up this tuition grant that is offered by the Ministry of Education in Singapore. So what is this tuition grant? Essentially, this tuition grant is to help to subsidize your tuition fees. Let me give you an example. Now, if you enter SMU as an international student without any subsidy, without any scholarships, your tuition fees can cost you as high as about 44 or 45,000 Singapore dollars per year annually. All right, but with this tuition grant that's offered by the Ministry of Education in Singapore, essentially it kind of subsidizes close to about 45% of your tuition fees. You just need to pay about 25,000 Singapore dollars per year. Okay, but because it is a tuition grant by the government, you have this 3-year work obligation in Singapore, which requires you to work for a Singapore registered company for 3 years after you graduate from SMU. Now, this obligation actually applies to all public universities in Singapore. Okay, so for example, you can work for the Google company in Singapore, but of course, the Google, or rather the company that you're working for, they can send you overseas. All right, so it doesn't mean that you have to station yourself in Singapore for 3 years. Okay, but you have to just make sure that the company you're working for has also an office in Singapore itself. All right, and that is it. And that's also the reason why I encourage all international students to think about doing at least 2 internships, because having 2 internships gives you the opportunity to also decide for yourself which industry suits your working style better, but also it increases your networking opportunities. And this is very, very important, because as an international student, you also want to secure a job offer as soon as possible before you graduate or after you graduate, right? Okay. And I can assure you, all right, at this point, I want to assure you that for international students in SMU, they have no issue looking for a job after they graduate. Now, there is this graduate employment survey that's done by the Ministry of Education Singapore every year. They survey all the graduates from the different universities, the public university in Singapore, to find out, for example, how long do you have to wait before getting employed? What is your starting salary? Or also, how many job offers do you receive? What industry have you applied for and get employed in, and so on? And the graduate employment survey for SMU students has been really very, very positive. In fact, we emerged one of the highest positive statistics compared to some of our older brothers, some other public universities in Singapore. So 96.2% of our students, in fact, they already secured a job within 6 months after graduating, out of which more than 60% of them even get job offers before graduation, and 1 out of every 2 SMU graduates, in fact, receive more than 2 job offers. And I think this is the next point, which is much important, is of course, the mean gross starting salary. We are the highest among the local universities in Singapore, right? So something for you to get excited and to think about, okay? And of course, our students are hired across diverse industries. So whether you are a social science student, whether you are a business student, you can look forward to working in many, many different industries. You can be assured that your skill set will be of demand in the different industry. Like again, the reason why is because I mentioned our students have the flexibility to do really electives and majors to suit their career goals. And having, for example, 2 majors really gives you an edge over other graduates. So for example, even, let me give you another example, even as a social science student, right? You may be wondering, as a social science student, what kind of industry I can work in? But the fact is, we have social science students, for example, working in banks because they can do a second major in finance, right? You don't need a business degree just to work in banks. And in fact, if you look at the job requirements, as long as you have finance background, you are eligible to, in fact, apply for banks. You are eligible to work in the financial and industry sector even. Okay, so that again gives you the flexibility. And of course, you have things that if you have done things like health economics and management, if you recall that, you can work in the healthcare industry. There's so lots and lots of diverse industries that you can look forward to join. Okay. And not forgetting that, if you have decided, after getting your undergraduate and you want to proceed to go on to do a postgraduate, We have our own master's and PhD programs that you can look forward to. And of course, if not, you can also look forward to applying to do postgraduate programs at other world-leading universities where we have partnership with, right? For example, like the Wharton University, the Northwestern University, Harvard, and so on as well. Okay. And again, we have very strong alumni support. So even after you graduate, or even when you're in SMU, you can be assured that you'll be connected to alumni as well. We have alumni chapters across all different countries, including Philippines, right? And you can be assured that you will be mentored even by alumni. In fact, we have these alumni mentorship programs. So even as a SMU student, you get to meet them. You can look up to them for advice, and they will also help you to network with the different industries and so on. Okay, so it is also a very good, exciting pathway for you to get the first-hand and the network to the industry that you would like to work in future. Okay. Now, so much so for all the academic part. I will quickly touch more now on the exciting part about SMU, such as things like the vibrant community, the student life itself. So in SMU, you can look forward to join any clubs and societies. We have more than 150 clubs and societies for you to choose from, whether it's in sports, arts, or societies or interest groups. Okay, you can look forward to join any one of them. And the best part is all these student clubs are fully run by students. We do have an office of student life, which looks after the clubs and to manage their well-being and welfare. But all these student clubs are startup and of course managed, fully run by students. If you join SMU and you discover a particular CCA that is not available, you are free to put up a proposal and to start up your own student club as well. Okay, the Office of Student Life will be there to guide you on how to do your own startup of your own club. So likewise, we have a Pakada club and society in SMU, which made up primarily of Filipinos. We also have this thing called the SMU ICON, ICON, which stands for International Connection. So essentially all the different clubs and societies that's made up of international students fall under this student body called SMU ICON, right? Then basically you have students from all over the world, from all the different countries, nationalities, and so on, right? And yeah, so you can be assured when you come in, you have all your peers will be there to support you. You don't have to really be worried. So even if this is going to be the first time that you're going to study or live in Singapore for a long period of time, you do not really have to worry because you will definitely have seniors who will be there to guide you and so on. Okay. Now, and of course, when you come to SMU, the one big question that students will always ask about is about dormitory. So we have a Princeton Street Residences dormitory, which is a 10 minutes walk away from campus, right? And of course, it's not compulsory. Okay, if you have your own network or your own connections or accommodation, you can feel free to stay with your relatives and so on. Okay, but Princeton Street Residence will be one of your choices that you can consider, and you can get to choose to either stay in single bedrooms or double bedrooms. Okay, so very quickly, I'll flash with you, share with you some of these photographs that are shared by our students who are staying in this apartment, right? So you have your own kitchen, you have all your own communal space where you get to interact, to play games with, or even to share something of interest, or even to discuss projects, especially if you're working on like SMUX projects, for example, right? So this is how a single room looks like. Okay, so it's very green and building. In fact, all the air conditioning is a very special kind of air conditioner system, which is behind the walls that helps to cool down the rooms. Okay. Now in PSR, most of the rooms are actually twin sharing, right? Because we also want to encourage students to network with each other. Okay, so most of the rooms available will be the twin sharing, and you have things like the lounge. You can get to do exercise. We have our own gym, by the way. So even if you don't stay in PSR, we have our own gym. There's a rooftop swimming pool for you to do your sports. We have a very big sports hall as well. And of course, you have things like dining area, okay, sports facilities, social gatherings, and so on. Right. So I hope that kind of excites you a bit. Now, before I go on to the Q&A section, so I just want to touch a little bit on the admissions requirement. So basically in SMU, we are looking at admissions very holistically. We don't look at just grades alone. Of course, grades do play an important role for us to evaluate your application. But at the same time, we do look at your other portfolios, like your aptitude, your attitude, what you have done outside of classroom, and so on. Right. So all shortlisted students, when you apply to SMU, if you're shortlisted, there will be an interview process. Okay, and you will be interviewed by the professors of the program that you have applied and shortlisted for. Okay, so they will find out from you what are your interests, whether you have a passion for the program that you're applying for, and whether you are suitable for the program and so on. Okay. Now, if you're looking at applying, for those of you who are going to graduate next year, typically we open our application from middle of October to middle of March. So for those of you who are going to graduate next year, and if you plan to apply to SMU, you can already create an account starting from middle of October this year, right? And just make sure you submit the application by the middle of March next year. Typically, we close at somewhere like this year, we close on the 19th of March. Okay, so that will be the rough kind of deadline, but do check out the actual dates once we open in October this year, all right, via our admissions website. Okay, and if you are shortlisted, there will be interviews or there will be writing tests, and essentially this will be conducted between March to May. All right, and then that's between this period we'll process the application, and then we'll try to give you an outcome latest by July, and the term will start in August. Okay, now one of the admissions requirements for those of you who are not, okay, for students who are doing the IB diploma, essentially when you apply to SMU, you have to provide us with your predicted grades, because your IB results will not be announced till July next year. All right, so we will process your application based on your predicted grades first, and thereafter we will wait for you to give us your actual IB results. So do make sure that you also allow IBO to transfer your IB scores electronically to us, right? And the good news for IB students, there are no subject requirements. Okay, so no subject requirements, and essentially we just look at your total scores that you have attained. All right, so you don't have to take on any additional tests as well. All right, so you are not required to do tests like SAT, Ielts, TOEFL, etc. You don't have to do that. But if you do, and if you feel that your strong scores can help to give you a better chance in your application, by all means, you can attach it with your application. Right now, for non-IB students, so this includes students who are perhaps doing the high school diploma, okay, whether it's the US high school diploma or the Philippine high school diploma and so on. Now, the application is very similar, except that in your application, you have to provide us with your grade 10 to your grade 12 semester 1 results first. As soon as you receive your grade 12 semester 2 results, you will have to submit it to us for consideration. So same thing, we will process your application. When the application closes in March, we will process the application based on these documents that you have provided first. And then if you're shortlisted, we'll ask you to attend an interview, right? The interview will be a virtual one, so not to worry, you have to travel physically to Singapore. However, for non-IB students, there is one additional admission requirement. So if you are applying using any other qualification like A-levels or so on, you are required to supplement your application with one standardized test. And this test can be either be in the form of SAT, IELTS, TOEFL. We also accept ACT. We have also expanded to include the Cambridge Advanced paper. We also include the Pearson academic test as well. Okay. Now, a common question that most students ask, especially for IELTS tests, if you are doing IELTS, do take note there are two different types of IELTS tests. Please take the IELTS academic test and not the other one, because there's one test that is more for career purpose. All right, so don't take that. Make sure you take the IELTS academic test. You have to supplement your application with one of these tests. Yeah. So if your school is already preparing you for SAT, by all means, make sure that you use SAT to apply. Okay, so that's fine. All right. So that will be the admissions requirement. And of course, if you're accepted into SMU and if you accept our offer, usually around July, that's the time whereby we will prepare you for things like applying for the student pass, which is an official document required by the Immigration of Singapore for you to study in Singapore. And of course, all your other visa, accommodation, matriculation, orientation, and so on. And the term will start by the middle of August. Okay. All right, so that was the very long sharing. So I'm going to take a look now at your question and answer, the Q&A. Let me just see what questions you have, and I'll try my best to answer, okay? Now, okay, here we go. I have a question here. I'm going to answer some of the questions together because they might be similar in nature. So for example, this attendee is actually asking, is it possible for a student to start their own organization in SMU? I will assume that you're referring to the student societies, the clubs. So the answer is yes, you are able to start your own organization. Okay, but as I mentioned, so what you need to do is if you have an idea, a particular idea for an organization or student club that you want to start up, put forth a proposal to the Office of Student Life, and they'll be there to guide you on how to do this. Start up for your society and so on. Okay. Now, next, is there a maximum number of organizational societies that you can join? So I think again, once again, you're referring this to the CCAs. So there is no maximum number. We have students joining 4 or 5 CCAs even. So really, it depends on how you plan to manage your own time. Because of course, the more clubs or societies you join, of course, then it would mean that you have more commitment, and especially if you're sitting in their, if you are sitting in their leadership committee, right, their senior committee and so on, or you are having a leadership role, then of course your responsibility will get a little bit higher. Okay, so there's no limit; it's really up to you. All right. Okay, how does SMU help students find internships and global exchange opportunities? So we have a career center, a dedicated career center that will be then they have this job portal whereby employers will actually put in the job opportunities, whether it's internship or for you to get employed after you graduate, right? So you can just go in, put in your resume, and of course, besides that, you know, we have like industry fairs and so on, whereby actually you get to network and meet the industry partners as well. Okay, next question. How is SMU student life? I think it's very vibrant. Oh, hi, yes, Baron, you like to add something? Okay, Baron, you want to type something? All right, never mind. I'll continue. Yeah, because I received this pop-up on my screen that was saying that you like to answer this question, but it's okay. I'll just share very quickly. So student life is very vibrant at SMU. As I mentioned, you have a lot. You can look forward to a lot of activities. And in fact, if you choose not to join any CCAs or clubs and societies, right, there are still many other student activities such as like the arts festivals and so on. The SMU Open House, for example, whereby you can take part as a student and to contribute to SMU also. Okay. All right. Does SMU give aid to female international students? Okay, yes, we do have bursaries, we have financial aid, we also offer tuition fee loan, and of course there are scholarships that you can apply, which because of time constraint, I'm unable to share, but we do have scholarships for international students to apply, such as the ASEAN Undergraduate Scholarship, okay, that you can apply. And the good news is, even if you enter SMU without a scholarship, if you have done well after your first year, at the end of your first year, you can still apply for scholarships. We do have scholarships, bursaries, study awards that are given to current students in SMU. Okay, right. So what does SMU do to equip students with a global mindset? I think I've covered that in my presentation. So in fact, one of which is the requirement is every single student have to do a global exposure program during their study in SMU. That is your graduation, one of the graduating requirement, right? So you won't be expected to stay in Singapore for your 3 to 4 years all the time. You are in fact encouraged to go overseas, whether you are going to do an exchange program, a summer program, study missions, internships, community service, and so on. Okay. All right, what kind of academic environment can I expect as an incoming SMU student? Now, I must admit, in SMU, everybody also work very hard, not only in CCAs, but also in terms of their studies as well. So sometimes, I mean, of course, as a student, even like you right now, right? I mean, studying in your school, it really depends on how you want to make the best use of your time. Whether you are someone who just want to take things easy, or you're someone who actually like to take up challenges to push yourself a little bit more, so that, you know, to challenge yourself. So the academic environment sometimes it's really depends on how you make out of it. If you're someone who takes it easy, of course, you know, you can chill, you are very satisfied with just normal grades, passing without honors, for example. If that's something, then you won't be stressful. If you want to push yourself, if you be challenging yourself, sometimes the academic environment also get a little bit more stressful a little bit. But again, as I mentioned, you have a very warm and supportive community there that you can expect, whether it's from your peers, from your fellow countrymen, or even from the professors, or even the administrative staff like us. Okay, so support is everywhere. Even during this time whereby if you feel really stressed and you need professional help, we have professional counselors in SMU where you can make appointment to meet to discuss about personal issues and so on. Even we even have a clinic that looks after your medical needs in SMU as well. Okay. All right. Okay, I will start. Okay. I will skip some of the question, unfortunately, because it's a bit similar. So I think there's this part about tuition grant. Someone is asking about whether is it difficult or challenging to fulfill the obligation. I would say that not really. You are allowed to change job. It doesn't mean that throughout the 3 years, you have to stick with a single job. Of course, if in the unlikely event that you are unable to secure a job for some reason, there's always, you know, grounds for you to appeal to fulfill the grants, the obligation later and so on, right? And thus far, I have not heard of any international students in SMU that has issued at least fulfilling the 3-year bond. Okay. Okay, some of you might be a bit worried with things like expenses or whether you're adapting into the environment. You don't have to worry. Okay. In fact, the international student clubs that I have mentioned, they are also made up of, there are also some local Singaporeans in it as well. So it's just not all purely international students. No, because we also don't want that kind of drawing like a straight line. In fact, we encourage every student to network with each other. Right, it's really important. And again, this points out to the same question about how we prepare our students with a global mindset. We want every student to understand the differences and similarities between cultures and really to experience that. Okay, so it is very important. So as an international student, I feel that you don't have to worry too much having a hard time. You will definitely have your peers to prepare you and or to help you adapt into the Singapore environment. But of course, as any advice, sometimes, being with our own group, right, or own clique, we tend to get a bit too comfortable and we may have neglected to try to understand students from other cultural background or from other countries or other nationalities. So I will encourage all international students actually to really just mix around and get to know and make friends, as many friends as you can during your 3 to 4 years. I mean, this is the best time of your time in your life, I know, and the best time for you to really make more friends, because once you start working, things are different. Okay, I can tell you that from my experience. Yeah, you won't really have that much time to make friends after that once you start your career. Okay, all right. So yeah, university life is really the best and the best time for you to explore and to push yourself beyond your personal or comfortable zone. Okay, I will touch very quickly. I think, okay, scholarship I have already touched. All right, there is this question about average living expenses in Singapore. I would say that generally everywhere now things are increasing. All right, so I would say that yes, in Singapore, I must admit that the standard of living is increasing as well. Food prices are getting a little bit expensive, but I will still say it's manageable because unless you're somebody who want to splurge on luxury goods or go for restaurants all the time, I would say that generally every month close to about 1,000 should be sufficient. Oh, sorry. I know I'm running a bit over time, right? Yeah. Okay. So Okay. So what I would do is, unfortunately, there are still quite a few questions that I don't have time to answer, but I'll be happy to take questions. What I would hopefully maybe, if you don't mind, request for the organizer, maybe you can email me some of these questions after this session, or for some of you who would like to interact or speak more with me, this is actually We have social media platform whereby you can reach out to us via Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok. Or the best is you can drop me an email. Let me see if I can type. Okay, I can't type to everyone on the chat box, but it's very simple. Basically, the email address will be admissions, right? Admissions here, admissions at smu.edu.sg. I repeat, admissions at smu.edu.sg. Make sure you put the .sg behind because there are some other universities that have the same acronyms as SMU, right? So just make sure you put smu.edu.sg, then it will be a Singapore Management University. So with that, thank you so much for listening to me for the past hour. It's a great evening, really, and I hope to meet everyone soon. And hopefully next year when I get to travel to Philippines, I get to meet all of you as well. All right. So thank you. Now I'll hand it over back to the host.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I'm sure we can speak for everyone here when I say we have learned a lot about Singapore Management University, and we are definitely going to consider it when applying abroad. For any other inquiries, please reach out to Jeffrey via the email I've sent in chat. To everyone here, if you are interested in staying in touch with and learning even more about Singapore Management University, go ahead and fill out their interest form with your contact details, and we will send the information over to Jeffrey Ang. And that concludes our session for today. A big thank you once again to our speakers and all our attendees for joining us. The next college on the call will be the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So if you would like to stay for that, please stay on the Zoom call.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible. So welcome to